Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode number 83. This is discussing 4 episodes of the series, episodes 17 to 20. 17 is a bit of a strange episode. We start off with this scene where we see a sword being forged, and you're probably thinking, what type of sword is it? A katana. And apparently it's a very special katana. Where it's sort of like, they describe it as sort of, they don't say it is, but it's a cursed blade that lusts for blood. And it's called the Dog Man. And then we have John Mongo who's there like, calls for Lone Wolf. That's seriously the guy. Apparently he's a third class monster. And he's also an idiot. Yep. Information about him is like it's like nothing much to know about this guy. It's like, we had this random monster shows up in this episode. His job is to deliver to Dan Markov. Okay. Is this enough? And apparently he's very curious about what the blade looks like. I would have thought, though, he would have seen it, but no. He takes it out the seat and he kills 2 college students. Of course, Oki is informed about this, so he proceeds to go find him and gets defeated. But then, of course, also he apparently was killing other people. And by the time he got back to his base, General Markov was so mad he basically is just beating him. And he tells him, uncover your neck. Because he wants to beat his neck up. Seriously. Oh, by the way, despite the fact Emperor Terror Markov has mentioned the episode, he does not make a physical appearance, which is interesting. Yes, this makes it the first episode of this whole series so far. Remember, we're 17 episodes in. And this is the first episode he skipped. Like, I was kind of surprised to say that. Yeah, the fact he skipped. I don't really know why he did this for, but he did. Pretty much so, he basically volunteers to purify the blade by killing Super 1. Which they accept. No problem. So his plan is, then we cut to the scene where you have Hitsumi being accosted by these bikers. And then we have this guy who's a swordsman, who's a student of swordsmanship, proceeds to beat the crap with a wooden sword. And then I think it's implied he made available attraction to her, like her, but she turned him down because she's in love with Katsuma, with of course the main character. So then he of course proceeds to go out practicing chopping on bamboo, and then Lone Wolf decides to possess him. Yes, his only power that he's shown having. He possessed somebody to use a sword to kill the Kamen Rider. So, he asks his master to teach him the sword catch technique. I've heard this technique is mostly a made-up technique. By the way, I did look this up. Apparently, Master Genki and Baki, after this episode, they are seen one more time after this. Just one. And that is episode 23. Then they're dropped from the series. Don't know why, but I'll talk about it when I talk about like episode 20-23, which basically in a way start wrapping up the Dogma organization arc, Dogma Empire. So eventually the catch sword eventually gets out of him, and then the thing is resolved by the end of the episode. 18 is an episode where it's like, you have this guy who prophesizes stuff. It's actually his kid. And it turns out his prophecy is coming true, probably because he's making it happen. And yeah, he's a dog monster. So his next prophecy is to have Tokyo suffer a blackout. But lucky enough, they basically have separate locations. Hitsumi, just by sheer coincidence, happened to find them, and actually puts a pretty decent fight. And it turns out she actually was taught martial arts by Oki. Interesting. When? Don't know. She just randomly knows martial arts. I'm sure Oki's probably the only person who taught teacher. And then, of course, we show that the monster is sort of a pervert, where he proceeds to use his cards to slice off her watch, have her coat get removed, And he's like, "Oh, I want to see that beautiful chest of yours." Then he proceeds to use his cord to slice at the front of her shirt, exposing part of her chest, not the whole thing. Yeah, if this was US, basically, you would see a full bra. Not this, where you see just not. You see some cleavage, yes. And no denying the actress at the time probably was a very beautiful woman. I'm sure she's a lot older now, but yeah, I thought that was kind of odd for a monster to do. Yeah, a monster be a pervert in this series. That's a bit odd. It's like, ooh, now I see what I want. Now I'm gonna kill you. Yes, a monster who prophesies and stuff is also a part-time pervert because he wants to see a woman's chest, even they pose even his human form as a little boy. And eventually, the whole thing is stopped, and the whole thing with electricity. And at one point, by the way, her outfit, she's not put her coat back on for some reason. She goes back outside, and apparently she's not picked up her watch yet. then he threatens her while he's fighting the Kamen Rider using the electricity stuff. Then he proceeds to threaten her to basically rip her in half with two motorcycles to opposite directions. Okay. I'm like, what is this? Why is Kamen Rider pulling something out of old samurai movies? Yeah, by the way, this was an execute technique. I believe, with the 3-way quartering, this is actually a part-way one. This actually is a kind of half type of thing. I believe this is mostly a technique that was a medieval execution. Eventually, the hand is damaged, so it can't get changed. It eventually does get fixed. And the third time he's been damaged the whole series. Yes, in 18 episodes, his suit was damaged only 3 times. Really? Yeah, really. Also, it seems as though last episode he didn't do any checks with his suit. But this episode he did. Interesting. Yeah, it's like basically early on, it's like once every episode, I think he skipped one. But I think now it's not done as much. Maybe do the next few episodes, who knows. Eventually, monsters will be right in the end of the episode. But that was quite interesting, that one. Yes. A monster is a pervert. Yep. 19. Okay, this one is basically another one of these that's very popular for Kamen Rider. It seems like every series now has to have this one episode. Have an episode where we brainwash kids become members of the organization. Now, this has been a common plot. This has been a reused plot device since the original Kamen Rider series. I think the only one I don't think they used it with was Amazon. But pretty much every single organization seen the whole series so far, with the exception of the one seen Amazon, did this. Which is interesting, the fact they did this. Yep. Though apparently also when they're hypnotized, apparently they're losing weight. They get very thin and ghostly. And apparently one of the kids is affected by it too. And this is caused by a monster who, get this, can hypnotize people with videotape cassettes put into his freaking chest. And he's a electronic bat monster. No joke, he seriously is. Like, myself, now I get at the time why in the world they decided to have a monster who one of his abilities is use a cassette tape. Like an old VCR, like VHS, like an old tape. Now, here's the thing. From a modern perspective, like 2023, that's old technology. Back in the 80s, this was brand new technology. I'm like, that is interesting though. The way they did it is also some of the way the other type hypnotism, which is interesting. I think a very interesting idea. It's the first monster in the history of Kamen Rider to use a cassette tape as part of one of its weapons. And eventually, the cassette tape was destroyed and called with ears, and a monster in the episode. But that was a very interesting idea for a monster. I do like that one. 20 is like, this is a completely original for Kamen Rider. As far as I think it's happened once prior to this one. Well, the monster of episode 20 is a telephone monster. Actually, it's more like a a no, it's Testima. He's basically an IV telephone monster. Now the strange thing is, has there been any other monsters like this? Well, for telephones, I don't think so. And the whole plot of this one is simply put using a telephone, which is interesting to say the least. I never thought of them basically ever use a telephone because I think maybe this has happened once in one of the previous series. I just didn't expect to use it. Now I'm thinking like maybe like one other monster has been a telephone shaped monster. Yeah, I think it's only been one. And the whole thing this one is basically trying to get their hands on this master key to control all the telephones in Japan. Now, I do not know if this actually is really real. I have no idea. But eventually the monster feed in the episode, but it's definitely a good idea for monster this one. But yeah, that's pretty much it to discuss here. So basically, next review is going to be a review of the movie Super 1. And the next episode after that will be a review of episodes 21 and 23. Hopefully, I get a chance to do it today. If not, I may get a chance to do it tomorrow. Okay? So yeah, so that's episode of the next week. Kamen Corner, and then the review for Black Clover, and then be on the Dragon Stampede. Okay, next video. Bye.